And I agree now, grasping at anything to distract myself. I realized that I've been holding on to a shred of hope when I entered the biology room, saw its empty seat, and felt a new wave of disappointment. The rest of the day passed slowly, dismally. In gym, we had a lecture on the rules of badminton, the next torture that they had lined up for me. But at least it meant that I got to sit and listen instead of stumbling around out on the court. The best part was the coach didn't finish, so I got another day off tomorrow. Never mind that the day after would be in arms with racket before unleashing me on the rest of the class. I was glad to leave campus so that I would be free to pout and mope before I went out tonight with Jessica and company. But right after I walked in the door, Charlie's house, Jessica called and canceled our plans. I tried to be happy that Mike had asked her out to dinner. I really was relieved that he finally seemed to be catching on, but my enthusiasm sounded false to my own ears. She rescheduled our shopping trip for tomorrow night, which left me a little way of distractions. I had fish marinating for dinner with the salad bread left over from the night before, so there was nothing to do there. I spent the focused half hour on my homework, but then I was through with that too. I checked my email, read the backlog from my mother, getting snippier as they progressed in the present. I sighed and typed quickly a response. Mom, I'm sorry I've been out. I went to the beach with some friends, and I had to write a paper. My access was fairly pathetic, so I gave up on that. It's sunny outside today. I know, I'm shocked too. So I'm going outside to soak up as much vitamin D as I can. I love you, Bella. I decided to kill an hour with a non-school related reading. I had a small collection of books that came with me, the forks to the shabbiest volume being a complication of works of Austen Jane. I selected and headed to the backyard, grabbing a ragged old quilt from the linen cupboard to the top of the stairs on my way down. Outside in Charlie's small square yard, I folded the quilt in half and laid it on the reach of tree shadows on the thick lawn that would always be slightly wet no matter how long the sun shone. I lay on my stomach, crossing my ankles in the air, flipping through the different novels in the book, trying to decide what will occupy my mind mostly. My favorites were Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. I read the first most recently, so I started into Sense and Sensibility, only to remember when I began reading the chapter that the hero of the story happened to be named Edward. Angrily, I turned to Mansfield Park, but the hero of that piece was named Edmund, and that was just too close. Weren't there any other names available in the late 18th century? I snapped the book shut, annoyed, and rolled over onto my back. I pushed my sleeves up as high as they would go and closed my eyes. I would think of nothing but the warmth and sun, I told myself severely. The breeze was still light, but it blew tendrils of my hair around my face, and that tickled a bit. I pulled all my hair over my head, letting it fan out on the quilt above me, and focused again on the heat that was touching my eyelids, my cheekbones, my nose, my lips, my forearms, my neck, soaked through my light shirt. The next thing I was conscious of was the sound of Charlie's cruiser turning onto the bricks of the driveway. I sat up in surprise, realizing the light was gone. Behind the trees, I had fallen asleep. I looked around, muddled with the sudden feeling that I wasn't alone. Charlie? I asked, but I could hear his door slamming in front of the house. I jumped up foolishly, edging together my now damp quilt and my books. I ran inside to get some oil heating on the stove, realizing the dinner would be late. Charlie was hanging up his gun belt and stepping out of his boots when I came in. Sorry, Dad, dinner's not ready yet. I fell asleep outside. I stifled a yawn. Don't worry about it, he said. I wanted to catch the score on the game anyway. I watched TV with Charlie after dinner for something to do. There wasn't anything I wanted to watch, but he knew I didn't like baseball, so he turned it to the mindless sitcom that neither of us enjoyed. He seemed happy, though, to be doing something together, and it felt good despite my depression to make him happy. Dad, I said during a commercial, Jessica and Angela are going to look for dresses for the dance tomorrow night in Port Angeles, and they wanted me to help them choose. Do you mind if I go with them? Jessica Stanley? He asked. And Angela Weber? I sighed and gave him the details. He was confused. But you're not going to the dance, right? No, Dad. I'm helping them find dresses. You know, giving them constructive criticism. I wouldn't have to explain this to a woman. Well, okay. He seemed to realize that this was out of his depth with the girly stuff. It's a school night, though. We'll leave right after school so we can get back early. You'll be okay for dinner, right? Bells, I fed myself for 17 years before you got here, he reminded me. I don't know how you survived, I muttered, and then added more clearly. I'll leave some things for cold-cut sandwiches in the fridge, okay? Right on top. It was sunny again in the morning. I woke with renewed hope that I grimly tried to suppress. I dressed for the warmer weather with the deep blue V-neck swell, something I wore in a dead winter in Phoenix. I had planned my arrival at school so barely I had time to make it to class. With a sinking heart, I circled the full lot for a space while also searching for the silver Volvo that was clearly not there. I parked in the last row and hurried to English, arriving breathlessly but subdued before the final bell. It was the same as yesterday. I just couldn't keep the little sprouts of hope budding in my mind, only to have them squashed painfully as I searched the lunchroom in vain and sat at my empty biology table. The Port Angeles screen was back on again for tonight and made all the more attractive by the fact that Lauren had other obligations. I was anxious to get out of town so that I could stop glancing over my shoulder, hoping to see him appearing out of the blue the way he always did. I vowed to myself that I would keep in a good mood tonight and not ruin Angela or Jessica's enjoyment of the dress hunting. Maybe I could go do a little clothes shopping as well. I refused to think about shopping alone in Seattle this weekend, no longer interested in the early arrangement. Surely he wouldn't cancel without at least telling me. After school, Jessica followed me home in her old white Mercury so that I could ditch my books in the truck. I brushed through my hair quickly when I was inside, feeling a slight lift of excitement as I contemplated getting out of Forks. I left a note for Charlie on the table, explaining again where to find dinner, switching my scruffy wallet from my school bag to my purse I rarely used, and ran out to join Jessica. We went to Angela's house, and she was waiting for us. My excitement increased exponentially as we actually drove from the town limits.